read a poem from Edgar Allan Poe, because when you do an elegy, you got to have a poem. And Edgar Allan Poe, he wrote a poem in 1946 called Spirits of the Dead. And I just thought that title and this poem is perfect for what we're really dealing with when we're talking about the cock watching segments of the population. There's many of them. You know, anytime a black man is moving around, moving freely, thinking freely, that's a threat to many people. So to me, these people are spiritually dead. So Edgar Allan Poe, his poem was Spirits of the Dead. So he said, "Thy soul shall find itself alone, mid dark thoughts of the gray tombstone. Not one of all the crowd to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude, which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in line before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still. The night, though clear, shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heaven, with light like hope to mortals given, but the red orbs without being to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever, which would cling to thee forever. Now our thoughts thou shalt not banish, now our visions ne'er to vanish. From thy spirit shall thy pass, no more, like dewdrop from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God is still, and the mist upon the hill, shadowy, shadowy yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token, how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries." So that's my elegy to the cock watchers and the dick police from Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. You guys can look that up. So I kind of wanted to, introduce the panel now, and I have to bring them on. So we got Brother Mad Bus Driver.
What's going on?
Hey man, thanks for joining me. I know you're a hard man to get a hold of, but since I've been in this space, a lot of brothers put me on to your content, and I know the brother Babatunde, he always talks about your content as well. So I'm very glad that I learned about your channel, because I think that you have been at this for a while. But I'm gonna bring on Verbs as well, and I want you guys to all reintroduce yourself. And I want to start with you, Mad Bus Driver, as far as just kind of telling the audience how long that you've been at this, because my understanding is that the first version of this blackmail YouTube was between 2008 and about 2014. Then another version, which is known to a lot of people as the Black Manosphere, came about in 2015, and a lot of people say it collapsed. I know you've talked a lot about what you've seen in your time as the collapse of the Black Manosphere in this year. So, just some background on how you've seen this transition from the earlier version, 2008 to 2014 to 2015 to now, and how you see the movement that you started. So for a lot of people that are not familiar with you, you have a movement that you're one of the founders of called SYSBM, which is an acronym for Save Yourself Black Man. And if you could just tell us a little bit about the movement that you've been promoting, and your time on this YouTube space.
All right, thanks, brother. First of all, I've been following the black man's
hold on, man, bros. You can't introduce yourself like that. You gotta give us your the intellectual property. You gotta hit us with that, man.
Oh shit, my bad. Mad Bus Driver here.
Now
brothers,
it's official, man. It's official.
And the ladies and the haters that are most definitely watching. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've been in the game since at least 2013, 2014, trying to roll in heavy. I've been watching and seeing what's been going on for just since 2009, when the first, the first wave of the gender wars and stuff. And that was, a lot of Sergeant Willie Pete, a lot of, was it Pink Elephant and Calvary is here, stuff like that. Those guys were going on, on the mission and stuff, and they've been dealing with a lot of heat, getting the stuff flagged down and all that stuff like that. Then Tommy Sotomayor came around, because I got put on to him from Sergeant Willie Pete. So then I started following Tommy Sotomayor. But I really got into it heavy because at first, this is why I'm known as Mad Bus Driver, because, I used to drive a bus. And so back in the day when I used to drive a bus, I would see how the kids that were raised by different types of parents from American, foreign, single black mothers, how they would act, how they would behave. And so that's how I started my channel and shit like that. And I realized, I pretty much had the idea what the problem is, but, I realized for sure what the real issue is. And that is, your Stargate, the type of females that are raising your children. And us men are making a mistake of reinvesting into that type of bullshit. And so, I've been, so I decided to put my 2 cents in there, and try to see if I can make some change. Because I've seen a lot of brothers get shamed and demonized, TV shows, from comedy shows, television, and radio, just because they're, the mother of the children or who they're dating may be from a different culture. And I'm married to someone from a different culture, and I deal with none of this drama y'all brothers is dealing with, fooling around with the scraggle dabble. I don't know why y'all keep doing that, but I guess it's just a built-in thing. But but what we got now, what's going on, what happened to the so-called manosphere? What happened to the so-called manosphere is real simple. You allowed the scraggle dabble to infiltrate. You allowed these broads who stated from the beginning that they do not find you attractive, they do not love you, they rather be with somebody else, that you're weak, and you're a sellout, or you're Sambo, you got no power. You allow these ladies to divert black men back to the plantation. And they've tried before outright trying to ban you, outright trying to argue. Now it's trying to get in by sneaking in dogs and ferrets and brass-toothed goats into the game, and these guys come around acting like they're hard, acting like they're alpha men. And these are the bitchiest men of them all. And these type of men, as well as the broads that come with them, have brought enough attention to certain men who are supposed to be lords of the manosphere to corrupt their platforms, and this is where we are today. That's pretty much it.
Well, I appreciate you giving us that great intro. I'm gonna let MOT go ahead and introduce himself real quickly. Yo, MOT, I was gonna let you know, man. Your videos have been very low volume, man, and you had some good titles, and unfortunately, the volume was so low that I couldn't even listen in. And you was dropping some jewels on this whole passport gate thing. So just a little heads up. So just go ahead and introduce yourself and let them know what your thoughts are initially.
Yeah. Thanks for the feedback on this phone, and it does like auto centering of the volume. So once I talk for a while, get it, and then it all of a sudden went on phone. But that's why I was recording this part and just do that, because this information is way too important, and there's nonsense out there that they won't be able to catch up, and they. That one, there really ain't nothing they can be able to say to you. So my challenge is for male improvement. We don't bash women or anything like that, but at the end of the day, people should want a decent, well-adjusted. Like, if that's a threat to your own personal power, then I'm sorry about that. Man, he wants us to society. I'm just saying, position. The best and the greatest thing you can possibly do is to
MOT, you're borging
right now, because
you're borging pretty bad, bro. Do you have like a better spot you can go to? Because I don't want brothers to miss out on what you're saying because of the connection. Is there like a better spot you can go to get a better signal?
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, cool. All right, yeah. So that's what my channel is about, man. Making sure that we turn this thing around, because it's not going to turn around by itself. You're going to have to be the first key of this actual quest. not anybody else. So that's all I got. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thanks MOT for that intro. You got the mic, Baba. Like, you know, people around here, they know you as Mr. Slaying Evil. And for those that are wondering, I actually had already made videos regarding Passportgate, and I was done talking about it because pretty much all the narratives that were pushed were just trash. So, but Baba had not got a chance to speak on this verbally, even though he had written about it on his website. And he's kind of doing like a digital tour right now of the different channels on this Passportgate topic. So he's the one that wanted me to do this panel more so for him and Mad Bus Driver than myself. I don't really have anything to contribute more so to these talking points besides my last videos, except for a new talking point that I heard. I would like to add some of that, but really this is an opportunity for MBD and Verbs to get their opinions out there. So you got the mic, Baba. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, no problem, man. No problem. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, for me, this whole thing started a contributor on the website called Mac G, frequent contributor on the website. He came on and he said, hey, yeah, you see what Sean James is talking about? I'm like, oh, no. I mean, so I went and checked out the video, and then he's basically, Sean James was saying how thinking black men who basically got passport owning free thinking black men, how we're looking to worship white people, and how, and I mean, we should be building with black women, we should be connecting with black women, and we're the reason why black women have derailed and all this business. So upon hearing and watching that, I had to make an article. I had to write an article straight away. I mean, so that's where this really started. And the title of that the title of that article is Passport Mocking Negroes, Muddy Bootlickers, and Agents of the Black Witch. I mean, so from there, there's been a few other people who've come out, tried to slander the thinking black men because we've got passports, we can travel about freely. Recently had a guy by the name of Super Sly 75. He came out and he basically stated that black men are traveling. He said a lot of black men. He said a lot of black men are traveling abroad to have sex with minors. I mean, that was quickly debunked. I was going to write an article about it, but I thought, you know what, this is completely ridiculous, because people know off the face that basically the majority of people involved in paedophilia are white men. They're the majority involved. You know what I mean? That's not a black man thing. And this is despite the fact that a black man is raised in a dysfunctional single mother household. Most black men come out of single mother households which are dysfunctional. So the black woman will try to emasculate him. The black woman will try to turn him towards being a homosexual. The black woman will molest him. The black woman will abuse him. So, and you notice that despite all this, black men are the ones who are the most against homosexuality. We don't mess with pedophilia. All these decadent practices that black women embrace, even though we're raised in these households with these women, many of us are, or many of us have been, we're still staunchly against all these things. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the slander of black men, what's happening now is where you've got this fragmentation that you, King Sigma, have talked about. This manosphere 2.0 is now fragmented and it's now dissolved in, and now we get this manosphere 3.0 where it's a decentralized version of the manosphere 2.0. And to be honest, this at first I was kind of angry, because I was like, okay, well, you know what I mean, we had that black manosphere was good. You know what I mean, the black manosphere 2.0, this was something good. And then the founders let in these black witches, and these black witches just basically run amok, and they've just destroyed everything. And notice it's only taken them a year to destroy it, you know? Just like basically when these black women were accepted fatherless home welfare policies and basically a feminism, took them 50 years to destroy an entire community. But this black manosphere, even though these black men who basically built it, they didn't need black women to build it. It wasn't built with the help of black women, but they brought black women in anyway, which is yet another issue. Why is it that certain black men always feel the need to bring in black women into their business? Leave black women out. You know what I mean? I noticed I got a friend who lives in Atlanta, and he knows he knows a famous ex-basketball player. I think they call his name is Dr. J. You know what I mean? And we went to a function, and I noticed that where everyone was mixing together, eventually it got to a point where the men separated over into one corner and the women separated over into another. I mean, and I noted that. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then again, who was the majority? The majority of the women were non-black women. I mean, so non-black women know, they recognize, okay, you know what, these men, when they go over to a corner, they're basically talking business, they're making money, which is basically sustaining us. So we best stay out of their business. You know what I mean? But black women, they can't do that. Black women can't respect black men's spaces. They always feel they got to invade. They think they can just walk in and just do what they want. You know what I mean? And it makes it even worse when you got black men who just let them in. I mean, because at the end of the day, I said before, black women have the Midas touch of destruction. Anything they touch is just crumbles. You know what I mean? There's nothing that they can put their hands to where something positive comes out of it. So why are you going to bring them into anything? But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just here to basically combat the lies. I mean, thinking black men shouldn't be dissuaded from traveling. I mean, thinking black men shouldn't be dissuaded from meeting women overseas. Thinking black men shouldn't be dissuaded from traveling just to go and relax and chill out, man. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know what I mean? And most certainly shouldn't listen to guys who haven't traveled outside of the US, who don't even own a damn passport. You know what I mean? Who haven't dealt with foreign women, but all of a sudden they're experts and authorities on the subject matter. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, at the end of the day, we just need to stand strong. I mean, we've already won. At the end of the day, people are seeing through this crap, all this black love business. And I mean, we got to build with black women. Yeah, black women, when they get money, who are they giving their money to? They're giving it to other communities. So people are seeing through all this rubbish, man. But I'll just leave it at that.
Hey, thanks for that intro, Baba. So to bring a little bit of structure to this conversation, I wanted to kind of get into like the mentality of those that are so obsessed with, dick policing and worrying about where the free moving man is moving around, in particular the black man. And because for me, when I talk about that, like I said earlier, I consider there to be two groups. One is like 99% and the other one is like 1%. There's the 99% that really believe these false narratives, like truly, they believe it because they've been misinformed, or they believe it because they just hate black men, right? But then there's another group who is it's just some entertainment stuff for. So in regards to like the 7 stages of grief, because as I kind of work through these conversations and listen to these arguments from people that I know really believe this stuff, I just started thinking about how in psychology they have the 7 stages of grief when a person is going through mourning. And for those that are not familiar with that theory, it's that people go through these different stages as they grieve some kind of like loss. And I think that just like in reference to the Elegy of the Passport Gate, is that these people that have become so accustomed to controlling the minds, the movement, and the image of black men, specifically the free-thinking black men and the thinking black men and the moving ones, they did not foresee a time where they would have to like step aside or get pushed aside because the black men themselves would start to take control of their own narrative, their own image, and to like wave the flag of freedom. So when we're talking about the 7 stages of grief, there's shock and denial, then there's the pain and guilt stage, there's the anger and bargaining stage, and there's depression that follows, and then you have like an upward turn, and then you have a reconstruction and working through, and then finally those that have grieved and they come to an acceptance and hope phase. And based on my time coming through to what is called Black YouTube and some call Black Manosphere 2.0, that's when I came in 2018, and I kind of noticed that the conversation related to the relationship between black men and black women, the black men and the black community, and black men and other black men, it was at the stage of what they were calling the classic man versus the Pookie and Ray Ray narrative. That's what was going on. I came in right when that was going on, and that had been so that I consider that to be the anger phase. I think that a lot of people in regards to the thinking black man were in that stage 3 of anger, frustration, giving way to anger and lashing out. So these men were lashing out at each other. And so that had already been preceded by the 2nd stage of denial and the 1st stage of shock, which is basically when you learn of a loss of something, you become in the stage of shock and disbelief. So you want to deny it. And I think that generations of people that have been raised by the mainstream media and in the last 40 years of just being in America, there was a culture of denigrating black men publicly, and some people benefited off that, but others, it was like a just a outlook of hatred, you know, a scapegoating of black men, and they were able to do this unopposed for basically 40 years. And so when the black men that came through these spaces starting around 2008 started rejecting those narratives with logic and reasoning and their own voice, that I believe in 2008 started the shock stage for a lot of people who had gotten very comfortable putting their feet on the throat of free thinking black men. And so I think that what happened during the anger phase, that was preceded by the gender wars. The first gender wars that I've heard about was like 2008 to 2014. And then the second version of the gender wars came in 2015 to the beginning of 2018, when you had certain people in these spaces flagging down channels of black men that were just telling the truth, backing it up with facts. And the fact they just did not like the message, they went to war and flagging those people down. And so that's how, so it's like that the first gender war, the second gender war, then you had the Classic Man versus Pookie. And then you had, like, at the end of 2018 and all throughout 2019 so far, you had this influx of different kinds of females and the simps that will believe anything that they say and go wherever they're sent to go. So around here we call them matriarchal Terminator drones. That's a title that Kyriakari Jones gave to them, so salute to him. So we're kind of in that phase right now with the bargaining and the depression, because you've entered that depression stage, which is stage 5, when you start looking for scapegoats, right? So part of the dick policing and the cock watching is based on this is that depression testing phase where they're throwing out anything they can to find something else outside of themselves externally to blame for their pain and grief. So that's why this whole cock watching narrative appeared, because they're moving through the stages of grief. And so the next phase, obviously the stage 6, that's the pure testing, where that's like you just throw out whatever you can. So like if someone dies, for example, and it was a car accident, instead of accepting it for what it is, you're gonna blame, like, you know, the other driver or whatever may have happened. You're gonna focus on that instead of focusing on healing yourself and moving forward. And obviously the last stage of grief is the 7th stage. And for me, that's at the point where after a conversation like this, those that are continuing to pocket watch, cock watch and dick policing, they just accept that, you know what, these people are gone. These people have separated themselves and they have the right to. And this is something that they have to learn to accept and deal with the reality of the situation. And I think that we're about, you know, another year from that, but we'll probably be in this stage 6 and 7 for about another 6 months, because like I said, that's the scapegoat phase. So that I don't know what the next narrative will be, because this one has already been buried. All their arguments have been buried. So I think that in 2020, pretty much around the time of the election, because that election is going to show really where the state of Black America is. We're going to get a whole bunch of census data that comes out. So that's going to create a whole bunch of other content or whatever. But around sometime after the election or so, once we see how the outcome is and the census and all that, that'll be the acceptance phase. And, you know, what I initially thought was going to become Black Manosphere 3.0, I just think that people are just going to break off into their own sectors and they're going to create like their own thing where they building with people that are like mine, because I kind of found out by being in this space that the one people under one umbrella for the average American Black people, it doesn't work. We're too different in terms of like our goals, our agenda, our cultural upbringings, and it's just too diverse. So I think what's going to happen is that the new standard will be based on common interest, mutual interest, and personal benefit. And that's just what it is. All this like hope talk and all this abstract talk and this fantastical talk, I think it'll be finished this year, and it'll be more about like, what are we really trying to do here? How are we going forward? So I hand the mic back in reverse order to you guys, what you think about, you know, if it's really like a grief thing or if it's something else. So just back in reverse order.
It's a cycle. It's a cycle. It's been going on. This type of thing is just out in the public. What we're dealing with, people have dealt with in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. That's when we had Malcolm X, Menace to Society. We had, Def Comedy Jam. You had all those black first, you know, with what's his name, Martin Lawrence will come out, hey, we're black again this week, or whatever it is, on Def Comedy Jam. It was this whole movement back in the 90s. It was the reset button right after Jungle Fever was released, because people were stating back then that brothers was out here messing with light, bright, damn near white women, stuff like that. They were complaining about that back then. They were complaining that brothers were making moves back then. So what happens is, every so many years, they have a reset button where they try to get as many black men back on that reservation. Now, you're wondering why we are dealing with this issues of what it seems like the 7 stages of grief and stuff like that. What you're dealing with is, you're dealing with policies that came from slavery. The slave master controlled where a black man puts his penis. The slave master controlled how many women a black man could sleep with. He controlled the bodies of those black women that he had in slavery. He put in those policies, and there's only one side of the community, as you could say, but we're not a monolith, that has internalized that damn near to it's genetics. It's almost like it's in the DNA. And that side keeps manifesting itself over and over and over again. After, you know, the whole women's liberation movement and stuff like that back in the 70s, they keep rehashing this repeat cycle of trying to dick police and black men into only choosing a particular type of female. Now, you know, you may want to tap dance around it and say, the other gentleman says, you want to be more neutral and not attack, I guess, any a woman. But you got to understand, brother, you are under attack. They're coming for you. So if you're not towing the line, if you're not saying what they want to hear, like if you're not speaking that they are God or goddesses or whatever it is, even if you say you got an open mind and you date all types of women, they're not trying to hear all that. To them, you're a coon, a sellout, a Sambo, an F-boy, all of that in a bag of chips. It's an actual, what you would call like a Cold War. They actually have strategies for your ass. The problem is, now we live in a time of the internet and social media. So we could talk to each other. Before, we couldn't talk to each other like that. You had to deal with the barbershop talk. You had to deal with the brother was down the street, that you see him, making some moves, or you ask him some questions. You had to deal with your brother coming back from the military, and you asking him what was going on overseas. Now, you have the internet. Now, you can immediately do the research and find out what a person, like the gentleman that we were speaking about, knows what he's talking about or not. Because they always scare you. This is nothing new. Now, I'm going to give you a little quick story, and I'm out. There's a quick story, and I'll let you guys, other people speak. Anyways, so Canada has, their version of the Midwest. That's where Alberta, Calgary, that part of the British Columbia, that Midwest that's north of Wyoming and all of that stuff. They had, back in the early 1900s, they wanted to settle that area. So they put out ads in America for Americans to settle their Midwest. And a lot of black people just picked up that ad and took up that offer and migrated north to that area. You can go look it up. Blacks in Alberta, Winnipeg area like that. They migrated up there back in the early 1900s and to settle. Well, it scared the white folks up there. It scared them so much that they decided that they were going to send they hire preachers to come down to the South and tell the people in the South scary, spooky stories about what's going on up there in the Midwest, saying that you're going to freeze to death, nothing grows, things of that nature, to scare the people to stay where they were. Because the drive to get out of where they were was so great, because they were dealing with oppression, Jim Crow. So why not? I mean, people, they thought, we'll suffer through a hellish winter if we could be free. But they didn't want them to come up there like that. They were thinking more whites were going to do it. See, that type of ideology, that type of thinking still exists today. They know a lot of people believe in spookism, and they can scare you to stay where you are. And that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to scare black men to stay and they're not explored. Because once you start seeing other options, you're moving heavy. You're not going to want to deal with the BS you're dealing with here. They can't compete. The gentleman that was, that doesn't have a passport, that hasn't left his own state, telling you not to leave the country, that gentleman was spoke about ASAP Rocky. Like, look at the example of ASAP Rocky, what he has done, and this is to scare you. Well, I just looked up ASAP Rocky. He's doing fine to me. He just dropped a new video, a new song. He's dating a Brazilian model that none of these scraggles are going to look ever anything close like. So it's like, it's this fantasy that they're trying to, this nightmare that they're trying to portray that is not true. I yield the floor.
I believe it's UMOT and then verbs. You there, man, of tomorrow? Okay, Bobby, you got the mic, bro.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? See, you know what it is? What I realized with a lot of these guys, right, is that a lot of them, basically, you got with this in relation to this passport scoffing, you got a lot of these guys that are just afraid to travel, right? And then where they're afraid to travel, they're basically they're having to settle. Well, through their fear, they're just settling down with the black witch. But what I notice is a lot of them are compromising, and I noticed that it doesn't matter where you go in the United States, that the quality of black women is in the toilet. No matter where you go, you can go to whatever state you want. The consensus is that the quality of black women is going down the toilet, and it's the same thing here in the United Kingdom. I mean, you got black women with weave, and then in the United States, you got 80% of black women are overweight, and then you basically got these black women who think they're auditioning for Pirates of the Caribbean. They got so many tattoos all over the place. I mean, and then you got black women, obviously, the majority of whom got mental issues. I mean, so if you're basically going to still deal with them, you're going to still choose to deal with them, then you're going to have to compromise on something. And that's what a lot of these guys have done. They've compromised on stuff. So a lot of them are basically taken on board single mothers. A lot of them have taken on board these harridans who've got these weave, these 20-inch yakis. A lot of them have taken on these women who are overweight. Some of them have taken on these women who've got tattoos all over the place. You know what I mean? And then not to mention the attitudes that come with these women. So when they see thinking black men going abroad and hooking up with like very attractive non-black females who don't have children, I mean, these guys become extremely jealous, man, and envious. I mean, so as far as they're concerned, it's where, okay, well, I'm over here eating the trash and you eating good over there. Nah. You got to come back. You got to eat the trash with me. And again, it comes back to the crabs in the barrel mentality. So again, what they do is they start putting out all these narratives. I mean, start throwing out all these slanderous statements. I mean, like you got your, like obviously in the case of Sean James, I mean, throwing out all these statements. Well, turns out that he doesn't have the credentials to speak about anything that he spoke about. Then you got Super Sly 75. He's coming out and he said that a lot of black men are going abroad because they want to basically kiddie fiddle. I mean, it's like, which is completely false. Again, like I said before, you've got that's predominantly white men who are into that kind of thing. Again, like you mentioned King Sigma, we've got Epstein, and we've got all these other, you mentioned that documentary the other day. I mean, that just exposes white men. And then you've got the Roman Catholic Church. It's again, who is it? It's predominantly white men who are into that kind of pedophilia type stuff. But then you do a little bit of research on Super Sly 75. Guess what? He's a cleanup man. He's a janitor. Turns out he's a stepfather. I never knew that. I mean, he's looking after someone else's seed. So then from there, again, the pieces start coming together and you can start to see the motivation. You can start to see what his motives are and why. I mean, so he's seeing black men go abroad, go overseas, and get with decent looking, attractive, very attractive non-black women, I mean, who don't have any children. And he's stuck on the plantation with a black witch raising somebody else's seed. This is my whole point, man. These guys is just jealousy, man. These guys are afraid. They're afraid to branch out. And it's what I keep saying, the spell that this black woman, I have to take my hat off to this black woman in terms of the spell that she's put on these black men. Because it's to such a point where they're fighting against you and you're trying to bring them the freedom that they need. But they're fighting against you. So I have to rate this black woman in terms of that spell and this hypnosis, in this trance that she's put these black men in. But again, what's happening is more black men are snapping out of the trance because they're seeing that this black woman is sinking lower and lower into degradation and degeneracy. So if you was to basically, if black women were to behave themselves, right, if they were to behave themselves, then more black men, the rate of black men leaving the building wouldn't be as much. But because black women just think they can just do anything they want, they look at black men as slaves. I mean, when you talk about black community, you're talking about black women. That's what you're talking about. You're not talking about anything else. It's black women. And when it comes to the community, black men are viewed as the flunkies of it. You're viewed as the outsiders. You just bring in the money. You bring in the resources. And then the black witch gets to use the resources for whatever she wants. So that's how you're viewed. So they view you as a slave anyway. I mean, so if they were to treat you good, then not so many black men would be leaving. But because this black witch is so nasty, she's so vindictive, she's so evil. I mean, and she can't mask her evil intent at all. I mean, black men are waking up saying, what the heck is this? And then they're seeing brothers like us. We're going away. We're going to different countries. We're just dealing with non-black women. You know what I mean? And seeing brothers like us. You know what I mean? And they realize, you know what? You know what I mean? Well, I can get that as well. Now, those are the brothers who basically have a free-thinking seed in their head. You know what I mean? But most of these guys, man, where the seed may have been planted, the seed was kicked out. It was rooted out of the ground long time by this black witch. But there's still some brothers, there are a few brothers that have that seed. And it just needs to be germinated. So that's where brothers like me, MBD, you King Sigma, Man of Tomorrow, that's where we come in. We basically wake up. We wake up these brothers. We show them, look, all this stuff that's happened to you, not your fault. It's the fault of this black female. All this stuff that this black female done to you, it's not your fault. She's not mentally there. She's mentally unstable. And so we're just showing these brothers a different path, man. And so unfortunately, you got a lot of these pro-black, dick police, black first, whatever they want to call themselves. They feel, oh, well, we got the right. We you know what I mean? We're trying to basically save the community. I say the community is already dead. It's gone. It's finished. Don't have a community, man. Now you have black people living within a vicinity. You know what I mean? But there's no community. You know what I mean? Community means basic. It doesn't just mean shops and businesses and all that. It also means actual community, as in, yeah, we help each other out. Black people don't help each other out, man. When was the last time you received any help from black women? You know what I mean? The most of my help's been received from people outsiders. Most of my help's been received from white women, white men. They're the ones who help me. I don't get any help from black people. You know what I mean? So this whole talk about, the community, and when they hear people like me speak, they think, oh, well, you're bringing about division. I say, you're already divided, man. We're already divided. Look at SYSBM. That's a division. That's an offshoot. You know what I mean? And then you've got the MGTOW, and then you've got the pro-black B1 and all that business. You got several divisions, man. And they keep talking about, well, we need to come together. No, we can't come together, man. You stay over there, do what you're doing in your corner. We'll stay over here, do what we're doing in our corner. And again, this is that, and it's not SYSBM brothers saying we need to come together. No, it's these pro-blacks. They're the ones who are saying we need to come together. But what come together means is you free-thinking brothers need to bring your backside back to the plantation so we can use your resources, so we can give it to this black woman. I mean, everything is surrounded by this black woman. Everything you do is just towards this black woman. I'm not interested, man. All right, I stopped dealing with black women 14 years ago. I've been going good. But again, that's nothing here in the UK. That's nothing for us because we came here on passports. You know what I mean? The dating out ratio here in the United Kingdom is almost 60% for black men. 60%, man. So that's nothing for us. You know what I mean? And then, again, when I come back to the traveling, the besmirching of traveling brothers, again, that's nothing for us here in the UK. In fact, here in the UK, when we hear these pro-blacks talking about, oh yeah, don't travel now. You know what I mean? Don't get your passport. That's weird for us because that's just normal for a black man here. You normal for black people here to have passports. In fact, if you don't have a passport, you're going to be mocked. You're going to be ridiculed, man. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we just got to keep pushing forward, man. A lot of these guys are jealous. They're afraid. You know what I mean? They basically they've thrown themselves into a raw deal, and they realize it when they start seeing the quality of women that basically men who are free thinking, the quality of women that they're getting, and they see that, and they're just incredibly jealous and envious, and they're thinking, okay, well, how can I basically persuade this guy to come back and eat the dirt that I'm eating? It's not going to happen as far as I'm concerned. Free thinking black men are free thinking black men. We see through the lies and the rubbish, man. So I'll leave it at there.
Yeah, you know what's also amazing is some of these gentlemen that talk that yickety yak about traveling and don't travel and all of that stuff. These same men now want to write books about how to survive when shit hits the fan, how to survive the apocalypse. And I'm like, yo, but you can't even survive out your mama's house. How are you going to tell the world how to tell brothers how to survive? The end of the world, the zombie apocalypse, if you're still chilling with old Bessie. Yeah, so the crazy thing about it is this. You're right. Brothers for SYSBM, we're not trying to join the fold of joining the community and all that stuff. But another thing about what gets me is these guys that tell you brothers are traveling, you out here passport pimping and all of that stuff, right? Same type of brothers are going to be the same type of brothers going to be like, we need to have our own country, our own nation, our own, a place we can call home. But the problem with that is if your ass ain't traveling, how are you going to be able to establish such a place? You have to do some research to be able to get out there and find where would be a good place to go. You might be able to buy some land and establish a community. Staying in your mama's house isn't going to help you with that. What you have here is this. I try to leave, it's like the name that shouldn't be spoken, but you're going to have to speak it. Black women only like talk. They don't like work, unless you're working a 9-to-5, where you could bring that money home. They don't like you to actually do the things that you speak about, like building a nation, building a community. They don't like that, because that would require you to be a leader. That would require a man to actually do what they keep saying men should do. And that means they would have to fall back. They would have to fall into their position. And they don't like to be told what to do. So they'll accept your talk. You can talk about it. You can talk about it all you want. Just don't actually do it. And that's the problem that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a lot of men who understand that all they have to do is talk. They don't actually have to do. So you're a queen, you're a goddess, you're Mother Earth, you're God itself. But what are you actually doing for said God? That's my thing.
Yeah, I got to agree with that, man. Again, it's like, see, a lot of black men, they don't understand what their position is within black society, man. I mean, a lot of black men really don't understand what their position is. Especially these simps, man. These simps still can't figure it out. I mean, when you got likes of Sean James basically making videos talking about there's still hope for black love, and this is something else, man. Like, again, if you're gonna basically, this is what happened to, as you call him, MBD, Umizoomi, Dr. Umar Johnson. The same thing happened to him, where he was going on radio show after radio show and basically like berating black men for getting into interracial relationships. I mean, but then eventually, like, black men got sick and tired of it, man, and said, look, bruh, have you seen the state of this black woman that you're telling us to get with? I mean, this is like, what? How do you expect us to basically forge a relationship with this woman? She don't want to listen. She's the leader. I mean, she's not going to accept us leading. And I mean, and when she does get money, she's putting it into other people's communities. I mean, how are we going to build with this woman? So eventually it just got to a point where, look, okay, no problem. You're going to have to lead by example. I mean, and again, it's the same thing with Sean James. If Sean James is saying that there's still hope for black love, that he's going to have to lead by example, and we're going to have to see his woman. Because if we ain't seeing his woman now, you can't tell us there's hope. I mean, there's no hope, man. And again, if you basically still want to, again, I have to keep saying it, if you still want to deal with this black female, you're gonna have to compromise, man. There's something you're compromising on. And I guarantee that the majority of these guys, when you look at their women, you see exactly what they compromised on, man. You know what I mean? What do you call it? When you've got I don't know, like I said before, you've got the black women who wear weave. I don't tolerate no weave. My missus ain't got no weave. You know what I mean? You've got the black women who, what do you call it? Who are overweight. Most black women are overweight. Again, so you compromise on that. Or you compromise on these black women with these tattoos. They look like a roadmap. Or you're compromising on black women with this tacky attitude. Or you're compromising on black women who have basically, they're unhealthy. They're not hygienic. You know what I mean? That's what you find. You find that you're compromising on something with these black women. Whereas when you basically deal with non-black females, you know what I mean? You basically can have a high standard and you can get that high standard met, no problem. You know what I mean? Again, you're compromising with a black woman who's basically not that attractive. And most black women today, they're just not that attractive. I mean, again, because of that extra testosterone they're carrying, which is what that I think that Japanese Psychology Today, that Japanese dude, he basically, you know what I mean? He said, look, these black women are not attractive because of that extra testosterone they're carrying. I mean, they tried to call him racist, but the dude was correct. He was right. You know what I mean? Look how coarse face and masculine a lot of these black women look. It's just incredible. But and then look, I watched this super sly dude on what's his name? I watched him on Solo TV 84's channel, and he seemed to just be doubling down. You know what I mean? He just seemed to be doubling down on his stupidity. I'm like, all right, then whatever. And he was saying, how could he be jealous because he's got a passport and he's been traveled and all that? Yeah, but the fact is you're a stepfather. The fact is you're looking after and raising a seed that's not yours. The fact is you're dealing with a black witch who I suspect doesn't look that good. I suspect she's wearing a weave, or she's overweight, or Sutton, again, going back to what I said before, he's compromised on Sutton. So he's not only compromised on the fact that he's dealing with a single mother, there's some other things that he's compromised on as well. I guarantee you, as soon as you see his woman, he's compromised, and you see exactly what he's compromised on. See, this is the problem. You know what I mean? So it's not the case of he's got a passport, so he's not jealous because he's traveled as well. It's the fact that he's compromised. He's compromised on things that he shouldn't have done. And he's looking at us who didn't compromise and he feels some kind of way. But what do you call it? And then what was it? I'm just looking in the chat here. Got Trick Lessons podcast. He says, according to Sean, if you bring up him not having a girlfriend, that's an ad hominem attack. No, but that's very valid. That's not an ad hominem attack. See, this is what the Black Witch does, man. The Black Witch tries to demonize constructive criticism. Because at the end of the day, if this guy hasn't had a girlfriend for such a long time, how is he going to speak on female nature? How's he going to come out and say, oh yeah, dude, this is basically how this female nature works and this is how these foreign women work? How can he speak on these things? So no, that's legitimate. That's a legitimate point. If you ain't had a girlfriend in so long, and not only that, because of the internet now, pre-internet, women were different to what they are now. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? He's got no experience. He's got no current experience, man. So how can he sit there and tell us about, female nature and traveling and all this other business, man? The guy's got no damn experience, man. You know what I mean?
Question is it I keep getting different numbers people keep sending me. Is it 1989 or 1999 since the last female homie has been with?
I think it's 1989, I believe. That's what I heard anyway. So it's 1989.
I was 12. 11, 12? Then, damn. So how old is this gentleman?
Yeah, I think he's in his 50s. I think he's in his 50s, if I'm correct.
Oh, man. Damn.
Yeah. It's bad, man.
Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah. And I'm just reading the comment here, right? It says, my ice is colder. It says that apparently last night Sean James tripled down and he said that black men that travel are incels. That's in addition, by the way, to him saying that black men who travel are looking for white acceptance. So we're not traveling to just meet decent women. We're not traveling to just unwind and de-stress. What King Sigma talked about the other day, how basically just going on holiday just de-stresses you. And I can vouch for that. I went to Spain back in Wednesday. I went to Spain back in June. And that was relaxing. Spain's only an hour and 40 minutes away from me on the plane. And I can vouch for that. You just de-stressing. But yeah, that's what he's saying, man. He's saying, you know what? We're incels now. we're basically co-signing white supremacy, and we're basically seeking white acceptance when we're traveling.
So that means Tariq Rashid is an incel. That means Umar Johnson is an incel. That means Brother Polite is an incel. That means any black man that hops on the plane is an incel that travels. But then if you need to get back to the motherland, you're going to have to travel to get to the motherland. That means you're an incel if you have to travel to go to the motherland. You see, when you start applying logic, this is what I do to the gentleman who told me that white people have no souls. I apply basic logic to him, and I flip it on him, and he always squirms because he keeps getting caught every time in his BS. He talks. It's just Looney Tunes dealing with this guy. Anyways, but yeah, when you're dealing with men like that, what you want to do is give them as little light as possible, because I guess they need to feed off of that. But anybody with half a brain knows that's clownish shit. Maybe we don't need to fish for the black men who are lapping up their the BS that these men are putting out, because if they're that dumb, you don't want them amongst your ranks. If they're that stupid to believe that A$AP Rocky's an incel for traveling overseas, that Obama's an incel because he traveled overseas, dumb shit like that, you don't want those type of gentlemen into your ranks and shit. But these guys, they're seeking cash and they're seeking ass. They're seeking the money that they can get. Everybody's trying to be a Tommy Sotomayor, and they're looking at trying to get that black ass, and that's just what it is. So, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, but it's deeper than that, though.
It's probably not. It's probably not deeper than that. A lot of these dudes that are out here doing this, they've seen that you can make some money off the internet like that, and they've seen they can get attention off of it. And some, not all. You're right. It is deeper. It's a deeper issue. But a lot of these guys, it's just one level deep. Because if you confront them, and you corner them and you start asking them some real questions, these dudes be like, I'm just doing it for entertainment, and I'm trying to holler at this broad. They're trying to be like Robert Perkins. What he's doing it for. He's just doing it so he can get some booty online and get some donations.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is nuclear fission. They can no longer cannibalize the water around them, which is most men. And it's not even that big percentage of men who don't want to mess with them. They still have a lot of people who really want to be with them and all that kind of stuff. It's just that they know that they just don't want you to move on to a better deal, because they know they're not a better deal at all. And at the end of the day, those people who defend these women actions by acting like they're so concerned about black men and whole, they don't really give a shit about black men either, because their whole card of masculinity is based on having the respect of this woman. Not productivity, not the shit that you've done in your life, just basically socially retarding yourself so that way you stay clear within the scope of happiness of this woman. They don't have an individual identity outside of this person. They just don't. And it's very sad, because you don't see other men of other nationalities conspiring with women to leave productive men not in charge like you see here in this community. You just don't see it. And it's just that, most of these people, they don't show you their personal lives for a very specific reason. Because the personal life would show the actual track record based on the stuff that they talk about. Because none of these people can pretty much show you that they have an intact family structure that could compete with any other patriarchy everywhere else in the world based on the system that they decide to attach themselves to. So what they do is they want to stay within broken markets and broken situations to where you don't have to provide proof. You can just talk all the stuff you want to. Because as long as you're the person promising and you're not really the person held to account to be the person who delivers, they actually win. Which is actually a hustler's level of proof. Which is, don't like it, don't listen. But allow me to keep poisoning the waterways. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's what I was stating before. They don't want you to actually do anything. They just want you to speak about it. They like men like Umar Johnson and Brother Polite and Sonetta and them and General Seti. All these guys are talking big time shit, but they're not actually doing the big time shit. that they are speaking about, like General Seti. We could put up 200 million. 200 million, we could take the white man out. Come on, man. You don't got an army to even speak about putting up 200 million. Brother Polite.
Yeah, but here's the reason why they can't partner with those people. See, here's the con. The truth is they don't want to deal with these niggas either. That's why come they don't form businesses or do anything else. Because the moment they try to do anything, the people who they've been promising shit to this whole time would come through and pretty much take everything that they got. Because they at that point they'll realize it's a lie. So they're leaving it. So they're promising other people's futures to those people who they're actually suckering. So as long as they don't build, and as long as they're waiting on us to build for them, actually the onus is on us to deliver for those people. Now, if they started doing anything else besides releasing books, CDs, tapes, and fire and brimstone stupid ass speeches, and they actually had to get out there and build, now you're gonna have 900,000 people lined up trying to be the first one in line off the stuff that they've been promised for the rest of their life. But see, that's why they don't build. They can't possibly build. One, they don't want to deal with the people who they're suckering. And two, there's no way they can be able to meet the demand once they did start building. But they keep these people in this holding phase by keeping them wanting shit that ain't gonna happen. And that's really on them.
That's true. But the community allows that. And that's because men aren't leading in them households in enough numbers to actually influence said community. So this is what we got. We got men who just promise and promote hype, but don't actually do anything because the women don't require these men to actually do anything.
Not good.
Not good what?
Wait, hold on a second. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just jump in quickly. Trick Lessons podcast says, according to Super Sly 75, if we didn't have our American or Western status, we wouldn't be celebrating traveling. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Again, when it comes to the United Kingdom, man, traveling for a black person, whether it be black man or black woman, is standard because we came here on passports, man. It's standard for us. You know what I mean? So again, when we hear basically these black first dudes talking about, nah, don't travel, you're gonna get killed over in certain X place, or you know what I mean? Nah, you gotta stay in your own land and all that. That's like foreign talk. That's like some Twilight Zone business to us. You know what I mean? Traveling is standard, and you notice that traveling is standard for black people around the world, except this pro-black contingent in the US. You talk to other blacks, you talk to the blacks in Africa, they're going to say, what the heck are you talking about, man? You know what I mean? It's like traveling is normal for them. It's normal for black people everywhere else. It's just this certain segment of blacks in the United States who are pushing this don't travel narrative. It's normal everywhere else. And of course, it's normal amongst non-black people. Non-blacks travel. They don't have a problem. You know what I mean? They travel for a variety of reasons. Business, holidays, pleasure, what do you call it? You know what I mean? All kinds of things. Travel for romance, all kinds of business. You know what I mean? Honeymoons, I mean, come on, man. I mean, so again,
I think that was one of the more humorous aspects of this whole conversation, because for the time that I've been in this space, I had never seen this before. I had never seen like a false narrative created to attack the free movement of black men. When I came into this space, that's what the whole conversation was about. The whole conversation was about how can black men educate themselves? How can black men become healthier? How can black men move around and explore? That was the whole conversation. So it's amazing to see that in less than like 12 months, to see it go from that being the whole basis of this space and conversation was about black men becoming self-actualized and finding out what they can do outside of this American matrix to stay in the American matrix. So that really stood out in my mind and had me just kind of shook over the last week that this had became a narrative when it was the exact opposite of what I thought that this whole space was. But I'm glad that has been clarified now that, for those that are free thinking, free movement, those that are SYSBM, those that are walking on the path of individuality and passport bros, because I noticed that most of the hatred, there's an even stronger hatred for the passport bros than the SYSBM for example, and just the free movement, like something about the passport bros really triggers these individuals, because like the difference between the passport bro and my understanding of SYSBM versus what I refer to as free thinking, free movement is that the passport bro, they don't believe the American women are worth dealing with at all, right? So the passport bro either believes that he tends not to want to deal with American women, or he absolutely does not deal with American women. So that's the passport bro lane. And I noticed that the guys like that really seem to trigger these conversations. The SYSBM, my understanding of it in this space is that it's about exploring your options wherever you can find them. That's always been my understanding about SYSBM. And then they have their own little groupings within SYSBM. And that kind of relates to what I say when I say just free movement. For me, it's like, if you want to move around from city to city, state to state, region to region, country to country, that's your natural right and your protected right as a citizen of the United States. America is one of the countries where the U.S. passport is accepted in pretty much, more countries than I think any other countries in the world. And because of the way that our money, the strength of our dollar, the way that our economy is the anchor of the world, it gives an American a lot of power. And I think that that's one of the fears of a lot of people, is that Black American men will learn that of their actual power, because there's always so much attention on what is only 5.5% of the U.S. population. I find that fascinating, that 5.5% of the U.S. population draws so much negative attention, even when they're doing positive things. And there's all this campaign to always to bring down a notch or to lessen any positive impacts that a Black man makes. So a Black man says that, you know what, the current sexual marketplace is it's biased towards females to such a large degree. It's time for me to move around and try something different. A guy wants to leave his small town in a certain state to a bigger town. The people there will tell him, no, you should just stay here. Ain't nothing in that bigger city for you. A brother says, this region is not popping for me. I got to hit the road, go to a different region. Oh, don't go to that region. They do this or they do that. Always. So I noticed that people always tend to appeal to the negative rather than to the positive. And when I talk about the pillars of the free thinking Black man, and I talk about, self-education, self-improvement, self-empowerment, as you work your way up Maslow's hierarchy of needs to become a self-actualized man, you have to wake up every morning with a positive mind. You have to wake up every morning trying to do something productive with your life. And you have to learn how to screen out the negativity. And I think for so long, what was happening is that because the world wants to see the American Black man as a monolithic group, they tried to put us all under one tent. So they wanted to flatten Black maleness in America, right? So we're all the same. No matter how good, no matter how bad you are, you're all just one group, because that's easier to control. When we talk about propaganda and we talk about the mechanisms that elites and those in leadership positions or in management of the social engineering schemes, because there's such a small group that controls so much in America, they have to keep the different forces and population in certain boxes and lanes that they can control. And one of the ways that the Black male has been manipulated has always been through the Black American female. You see what I'm saying? And there's been a certain group amongst the Black American female population that takes a lot of pleasure and gets an orgasmic response to their Black male hatred porn. And unfortunately, because a lot of the men that have come up in these kind of matriarchal environments, they have taken on such the feminine spirit that they worry about your dick as much as the Black American one. And that shit is hella suspect to me, bro. I'm just gonna be honest. That I understand why the American Black woman is so concerned about the movements of Black men, because she knows that this is her greatest chance for any sort of companionship, right? Because we all know that based on some of the videos that guys like Brian Solange, Tommy Sotomayor, Organic, and the articles that Baba writes, is that every time these women get a chance to either throw Black American men under the bus or they get a chance to get themselves a bottom shelf Brad, they jump at it. So there's been so many myths that have been deconstructed in this space, even in the short time that I've been in it, and one of this most loyal woman that don't even exist. So I think that as more and more black men just deconstruct these narratives, spread those narratives, those that benefited from the black matriarchy and had a nice position in it, which is a small minority of people, but benefited from the other people being complacent and confused, they are holding on for dear life. Like I said, they're in that stage 5, stage 6 right now. And they're pretty much finished, right? Because these men are starting to see that it's a privilege in a lot of ways to be living in a industrialized country like the United States, with that ability to move around, make your money here and things like that, and go to other places. And that creates disincentives for bad behavior. When large groups of any kind of group moves around, it will have different effects, right? So it's like, if you have a group of black men, let's just take 25% of the population that was stuck in a certain environment. If we're talking in terms of like the sexual marketplace, because those who are stuck in a certain market and told to limit themselves to a small pool, you got who benefits from you limiting your options. That's what you have to think about. So you got to always ask, who benefits from my misery? And the group that benefits the most from your misery are those black men who want to measure themselves against you, especially in terms of look and body count, but more specifically, the American black woman who can keep a nice steady supply of orbiters that won't go outside of the group that is only a socially constructed group to find their happiness. So they benefit. Those are the groups that really benefit from. And of course, the white males who sit at the top of the American sexual hierarchy, not on a biological level, but just from a status standpoint, they want to maintain their position as well. Because as long as you keep the female population here overinflated with a supply of men chasing after lower and lower returns, well, the white male is the actual best beneficiary of that system, because now he has you trapped here. And that's what's so funny, is the relationship between the so-called pro-black simps and the pro-black daggles, is that they actually show their cards every time that they're doing more and more work for the same white supremacists that they talk about, right? Because the white male, he benefits the most from you not moving around, because in 2 ways at least, you don't gain a global perspective, and the fact that the world doesn't get to see that you're actually a total rejection of stereotypes that the American media and the Madison Avenue propaganda machine has been pushing on black Americans since forever. But especially with with the television, radio, and the internet, they have to push those stereotypes. And the quickest way to destroy a stereotype is to encounter something that is the exact opposite, right? So if they say that the black man is an uneducated brute, and then you got black thinking men that are the exact opposite of a brute going around the country, that has a big impact on how the outside world sees America, and also how it sees black men. And they have a serious investment in keeping black men in an inferior position and limited in their movements. So you always got to look at who benefits from your misery, who benefits from